I am really intrigued by this.
You're intrigued by what's going to happen to Novak Djokovic down in Australia, where he wants to go and defend his title in the Australian Open, but he's got issues, COVID issues.
And Prime Minister issues.
Yes. The tournament folks gave him an exemption for, he's not vaccinated. He's been very public about this.
He seems to be anti-vax.
Seems like it. Certainly sounds like it. But he got a medical exemption from the tournament. But the government in Australia...
Excuse me, I just want to say, they didn't say what the medical issue was. They just said an exemption.
Right. But the government of Australia is not going to let this slide that easily. And the Prime Minister of Australia has said that once he gets here, I want to see what prompted this exemption. Well, he had a problem before he even got to that. He filled out the wrong paperwork.
Yeah, that's right, Charles. So he never even got to the point where he could prove to the Prime Minister that he actually had a legitimate medical issue here. So when Novak lands on Wednesday in Melbourne, the customs officials are looking at his documents and they realize that somebody in his team applied for the wrong visa. And this particular visa, the wrong visa that he has, it doesn't matter if you have a medical exemption. It doesn't exist with that particular visa.
Right, but Babcock, I don't think that's the smaller issue, because he can just fill out the new forms and that'll be fine. The real issue is the Prime Minister seems to question whether he really qualifies for a medical exemption. So that even when the new paperwork is filled out, the Prime Minister, I think, is saying, I don't believe you. And I want to know specifically, what is this medical condition? And show me and prove it to me.
Yeah, Harvey, I think certainly if you read between the lines, you can tell that the Prime Minister is not buying what Novak is trying to sell here. He's been he's been anti-vax in the past. He had a scandal. He partied. He got COVID, transmitted it to other people. So he has a history with COVID-19, Novak does here. And you're right. There was a lot of outrage in Australia, and you can argue whether or not the Prime Minister is doing this because it's wise politically. Maybe, but a lot of people in Australia were very upset that they perceived that Novak was getting some special treatment here because he's a famous tennis player, and they were not having it. So, right, if he fills out the new visa paperwork, that does not mean he's getting into the country, because the Prime Minister is on his butt right now.
Hey there, it's Robert from Miami, and honestly, kudos to Prime Minister Morrison for saying they're not giving Djokovic special treatment regardless of who he is. Australia has been doing a great job at managing COVID, but cases are spiking down under, and all they want to see is proof of his COVID-vax medical exemption. So Djokovic, if you have it, show it or just go home. It's that simple.
You know, right now he's kind of stuck in isolation at the airport. They're just keeping him there until they work this thing out. But God knows if he plays.
The hardest part.